Hello, this is Professor Doug Emig again with Political Science 3213. Today I wanted to walk briefly through the syllabus for the course. Oftentimes students don't understand that the syllabus is the single best source of information about what's going to take place over the course of the semester and how to succeed in this course. Honestly, we like to say that it's never cheating to do the reading. If you read the syllabus carefully and you do what it says, you will thrive in this course. So, Introduction to Public Policy. Open your syllabus and let's walk through it together. Pause the video until you have it open on your screen, and then we're going to walk through the 9 pages of the syllabus together. Okay? Here goes. This course is taught by me and by Jennifer Marshall. Office hours for the course. We are excited to talk to you. The easiest way to meet with us is via email or by phone or by messaging. If you set up a time to talk with us, we would love to get back to you as quickly as possible. We can meet in our office, on campus, we can meet any way you like, but probably the easiest way is electronically. Introduction to the course. Public policy making is a broad topic. It has to do with what governments do. It has to do with what transnational organizations and supranational governments do. At the same time, it also has to do with all kinds of informal sorts of policy regimes. What do we mean by that? Informal policy regimes would include things like informal norms about how you drive a car in a particular town, or how the pickup line might work around your kids' after-school activities, or even more likely, how you interact with other parents around the sidelines of your child's soccer game. These are all norms of behavior that, in a sense, are aspects of public policy. This semester, we're going to focus on policy making by government, but we'll situate that effort into a much broader context. Now, when we talk about public policy, often we're talking about a very linear, multi-step process that includes, number 1, discovery and definition of a problem. Number 2, the consideration of various alternative solutions. Number 3, how to choose a particular solution to implement. Number 4, how will we know if that particular solution is having the desired effect? Is it making the difference we hope? And then 5, how do we revise existing policies in order to make them stronger? This is the improvement part of the process. Here's what becomes even more interesting, though. Some of the most interesting examples of policymaking differ from this linear multi-step process. In these examples, we see dramatic shifts in direction of American and all national public policy. Think for a second about the horrific events in Paris earlier this month, and in November. The effect of those events, those terrorist attacks in Paris, has been an immediate nationwide and worldwide effort, number 1, to get hard on terrorism in different ways, and number 2, to shut down national borders. This has changed the way in which the presidential rhetoric of the upcoming presidential campaign in the U.S. has gone, the issue of Syrian refugees, and so on. These are ways in which American public policy is being shifted by dramatic external shocks to the system. So, this semester, we will consider how policy making works in both theory and practice. It's important for you to understand from day 1 that policy making becomes complicated. Think about the example in the syllabus. Is it a public policy problem if a tree falls on my house? Or is it just an act of God? Well, to what extent does it depend on whether or not I've had regular, routine maintenance done on the tree? To what extent does it depend on whether or not my insurance company is company A versus company B? Is it a public policy problem if the tree fell because of a tornado? If there was a wall of wind that took out all the trees down the length of Poplar Avenue, Is that a different kind of problem than just a single tree falling in my yard? Once we know whether a problem is a public policy problem, we need to figure out how we're going to respond to it. In order to have that conversation, there are a few key questions to keep in mind. How will we know if we've succeeded? What will success look like around a particular problem? Secondly, can the market solve the problem? In other words, is this one that government could keep its hands off of because the most efficient solution that's possible and available is a market-based solution? Third, could a local community solve the problem itself? Later in the semester, we'll talk about some examples of communities stepping up to solve problems in incredibly efficient ways. There was a fantastic example of this in Las Vegas a number of years ago, where municipal government decided that the best way to deal with graffiti was to give local communities cans of paint and say if there is a gang tag, if there are gang tags on the walls around your neighborhood, here's paint, do something about it. It's a much more efficient, much quicker, much more effective solution for local neighborhoods to seize control of this than it is for graffiti abatement to come in, which is time-consuming and expensive, and neighbors are frustrated because it takes too long. When should government get involved in a problem? How much are we willing to spend? And how long are we willing to wait to see results? Many of the examples we use this semester have to do with investments in childhood, particularly investments in early childhood. Here's the difficulty. Many of the positive returns associated with high-quality investments in early childhood don't happen for many, many years. Are we willing to wait 10 years or 20 years to see the return on our investment? Good. All right. There's some nice discussion of context here in the syllabus, and I'd like you to read that carefully. And then scroll down to the section on evidence. Good policy making depends on good evidence. Good evidence about what is the problem, and good evidence on what are effective solutions to a problem. Third, good evidence about whether or not the solutions that we've put in place are making the difference that we hope that they will make. But it's difficult because good evidence is hard to get in public policy making. What would great evidence look like? Well, here's the classic example. Great evidence is something called a randomized controlled trial, where we take people who are otherwise similar and we randomize them into an intervention. So if we have a group of kids and we'd like to see if we can help those kids learn to read, we make sure that these kids are similar in every respect, and then we would randomly assign them to different reading interventions and see which would make the most difference. Makes sense. But here's a problem. What if we want to know if a new kind of parachute is effective? Would we randomize airplane passengers into wearing that parachute or wearing the traditional parachute and then shove them out the plane? No. Obviously, there are all kinds of experiments we simply don't do with human beings for very, very good reasons, obvious reasons. So one of the things we're going to talk about over the course of the semester is what makes for good evidence. How do we know it when we see it? And what counts as quality evidence when we're talking about public policy making? Additionally, it's very important in public policy to understand that facts do not speak for themselves. We've all heard the old expression, if only we could get information that matters into the hands of policymakers and the public. But not necessarily. There are all kinds of information that we have had for many, many years that have not translated into general practice or into public policy. And here's a gross but simple example to make the point. We have known for close to half a century that washing hands reduces the spread of disease. And yet, even in hospitals, video cameras have documented healthcare professionals and family members are unlikely to regularly wash their hands. before and after touching patients or interacting with patients. So these all become parts of the story about how we make public policy and how we build support for public policy and how we evaluate public policy. So again, read those sections of the syllabus carefully in order to understand what we're about this semester, what kinds of questions are guiding our investigation. Page 3, objectives for the course. This semester, you will build a rich understanding of inputs and processes of public policy formation. You will hone your analytic ability to analyze the public policy process. You will enrich your understanding of the relationship between public policy, political institutions, and groups of political actors. You will develop the more fine-tuned, fine-grained understanding of the links between public problems and policy solutions, critical steps in policymaking, and importantly, you will improve your capacity to evaluate the kinds of evidence that are used to support public policy making. Good. All right. In the course of the semester, you have a number of responsibilities. I can't stress this enough. Just like in a get up and go to class, you need to be prepared carefully and you need to participate regularly. You are responsible for completing all the readings, reviewing all the related materials, viewing all of the videos associated with the course, and completing all of the assignments. This is the only way in which Jennifer and I will be able to evaluate your performance. There are 3 sets of assignments for the course: written assignments, discussion board posts, and brief video responses. Let's talk about those. Most importantly, in my view, students will complete 5 short policy papers this semester. When these 5 papers are linked together, they will constitute an important kind of writing in public policy. This is an issue briefing paper. Sometimes these are called white papers. A white paper, by definition, is a concise report on a complex issue. It helps readers understand the issue, gives them the information they need to take action, and helps put the issue in context. Your assigned topic for the white paper this semester is reducing the prevalence and mitigating the effects of adverse childhood experiences in Memphis and Shelby County. This is important. Look at page 3 of your syllabus for clarification on exactly what this involves. You will write this paper in 5 parts, and each of these different pieces has a different due date. The first part asks you to define and explain adverse childhood experiences. We want you to collect, distill, and evaluate the best available information on adverse childhood experiences, particularly for very young children, children aged 0 to 5. What research has been done on these adverse childhood experiences, otherwise known as ACEs? What is the relationship between ACEs and trauma? And how do ACEs put children at risk? Part of the answer to this question has to do with early brain development. What do we understand about the relationship between ACEs and children's brain development? Second, what is the influence of ACEs in Memphis? How prevalent are they in Memphis, in Shelby County, across Tennessee, across the U.S.? How do we know? Is Memphis doing better or worse than the rest of the country, both in the prevalence of these conditions and in our response to them? Are we doing better than other large cities? In other words, what is the right denominator to compare Memphis to? Third, what are the long-term implications for individuals, for families, and for communities of adverse childhood experiences? Another way to think about this is, why do ACEs matter? What does the research say about the short and the long-term effects of early childhood adversity? How do ACEs put children at risk for problems later in life? How do they influence school readiness, academic achievement, teen behavior, teen avoidance of risky behavior, rates of high school graduation, college enrollment, patterns of labor force participation, patterns of family formation, involvement in criminality, involvement with gangs, involvement with drugs, as well as adult health and longevity. One of your videos for the course is by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. It's a TED Talk she gave where she says there's a 20-year difference in morbidity among kids who have 0 ACEs versus kids who have 4 or more. That's a profound difference for individuals, for families, for communities. If we could increase lifespan by 20 years, incredible. Finally, let's see, so that's 3 factors. So the 4th paper asks you to look at factors that protect children who experience ACEs from negative outcomes. In other words, if we get to the point where we see this as a public policy issue, how would we begin to think about intervening? What is the strongest available evidence about protective factors that support optimal early childhood development? How do these work? How do they protect against the effects of a rocky start in life? Many children who experience adversity early in life go on to do very well. What explains their relative success? What went right for them? How do we grow that? And then finally, what are research-evaluated interventions that have been demonstrated to make a difference for kids and for families? This is a piece of the paper where you will review the evaluation research on interventions designed to improve the odds for children at risk. What are the best ways to reduce the prevalence and mitigate the effects of ACEs? What gains are associated with these efforts? What positive outcomes come from effective intervention? How do we know? How have these outcomes been measured? Can we monetize the gains? Can we say this is the return on this investment? Is it possible for us to say, look, if we put $1 in this particular kind of program, we are likely to see this many dollars returned 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And not to say that dollars are the only kind of currency that matters, but they were a powerful currency in public policy. Okay, there is a lot of detail in the syllabus about how to do the paper, how to construct the paper, how to turn in the paper, and what a successful paper will look like. There's a second kind of assignment for the course as well. These are reflective narratives that are posted to the discussion board. Every week or 2 or 3, we will post questions to the discussion board. You will respond to these questions in just a couple paragraphs. The questions will pull from your reading, and you are supposed to take, what we would like to see you do is take the substance of your readings, the substance of the continuing narrative of the course, and tie it together to respond to the question. In addition to posting your own substantive response, we want you to provide thoughtful responses to 1 or 2 of your classmates' contributions. This is a required assignment. In your responses, it's important that you demonstrate that you understood, you completed and understood the readings, and that you are trying to tie the readings into the themes for the course more generally. And there's more detail there about how you are to complete the reflective narratives. Finally, there's a third set of assignments for the course. These are video responses. In the same way that Jennifer and I are contributing to your experience by posting short videos, you will post short videos helping us understand the material as well, and helping your classmates understand the material. In these short videos, you will have the chance to teach key concepts from the reading material. These videos give you the opportunity to demonstrate your mastery of the material. Keep them brief, 2 to 3, 4 minutes. They need to demonstrate that you understood the topic. It's okay to be creative. We're interested in seeing what sources you can find and share to help support your presentation. Pull video clips. It's okay to have sound bites. It's fine with us. We want to see where you go with this. Now, your first video for the course should be an introductory video just like the ones that Jennifer and I did at the start of the semester, introducing you to us. Tell us about yourself. Tell your classmates about yourself. What brings you to the course? Where are you in your education? What do you hope to get out of the course? What is a question that we could help you understand and answer? Okay? I think that's enough for now. We will talk about the second half of the syllabus at another time.